Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Our next lecture is about the gender issues in the classroom. The first point in this topic is gender inequalities in the classroom. It is about the description of the kinds of inequalities that are present and or observed from in both genders, either male or the female students. Call on male students more frequently, ask female students more factual questions. It is about the behavior of the teachers, also the behavior and activities related to the students. It means that a teacher call on male students more frequently, and when asking question from female students, he or she may ask them factual questions, but from male students, usually abstract questions are asked. Male students speak longer and frequent in class discussions and blurt out the answers. We have already cleared the concepts of the blurting out the answers in order to catch the attention of the teacher. Further, female students are interrupted before completing their responses. It is a common habit, and also we have discussed females express their ideas in a hesitant, indirect way. Females are usually less assertive in the classroom, and their manner is polite manner. Talkativeness among students varies widely among individuals. It means that talkativeness, as it is considered that belongs to the female students, and it is their habit, but it is not true, and it varies from individual to individual. Discussions becomes dominated by quick responders. It means that taking part in discussions and leading the discussions does not belong to any gender. It only belongs to the quick responders. Second point is about gender dynamics in the college classroom. Biases make some female students feel inadequate. They come to doubt their own abilities and skills. If there is such an environment in any classroom, either by the institution, administration, or particularly the teacher of that particular class, the biases or biased relationship or behavior or attitude makes some female students feel inadequate, and they try to doubt themselves on their abilities and skills. Classroom dynamics vary markedly depending on instructor's gender, class gender ratio, size, gender relevance, of course. It means that classroom dynamics depends on who is the instructor. As far as his or her gender is concerned, either teacher is a male teacher or a female instructor. What is the class gender ratio? Is the class dominating with the female students or dominating with the male students, and overall size of the class and strength of the class, and their relevance, gender relevance. Further, male students speak to establish status and hierarchy, while females feel uncomfortable having their ideas evaluated publicly. Male students often blurt out answers or try to take part and lead the discussions because they want to establish their status, and create hierarchy, and comes and wanted to come on the dominant position of that hierarchy. But on the other hand, females don't express such type of behaviors and don't include in discussions, and even shy of dominating or leading the discussion because they feel uncomfortable, or fear to discuss their ideas, their thinking, and their feelings and emotions to be evaluated publicly or before other persons. Male and female students have different attitudes towards their abilities and to deal with the problems. Another point is which to be discussed in this topic is differences in linguistic styles. The linguistic expert Deborah Tannen has found that female students tend to make shorter statements while using language or conversation in the classroom, and also that conversation style is in the manner of hesitancy, indirect manner, and polite. Female students qualify their statements in order to explain what they have said and what they wanted to say. Add tag questions, ask questions rather than give statements, and this also related to the female gender attitude and behavior of using language, that they use more interrogative questions in order to prolong or extend the discussion or the conversation. Female students use intonations to turn statements into questions and apologize for their statements also. Another point in this topic to be discussed is difference in student behavior. So, female students are less likely to raise their hands in response to the questions and to blurt out answer or demand teacher's attention. These qualities or properties and attitudes we have studied. Less likely to receive peers' approval if they break rules. Less likely to receive feedback, whether praise, help, or criticism, and more likely to be interrupted. These are actually some behaviors and habits on the part of the female students, and also the attitudes and responses the female students may face or usually face in the classroom. Further is differences in self-image and self-presentation. Female students are more likely to blame themselves for a lack of success than men. It means that if failure comes or success is not achieved, female students blame this to themselves rather than men, because men tend to attribute this success to the to themselves. So that is, this is because of them, but the female students likely to attribute success they have achieved to their hard work or luck rather than skills. And further, female students tend to feel less comfortable in public debates and less likely than male students to shape the agenda of the discussion. Shape the agenda of the discussion, it is about leading the discussion or dominating the discussion too. Further is feminist pedagogy, that is pedagogy actually related to the art or technique or methodology of teaching, how to be a good teacher. So, feminist pedagogy means what type of teaching techniques, methods, and skills a teacher must have, or he or she should have practiced in order to keep in mind the gender differences, particularly the feminist point of view. Proponents of feminist pedagogies view the classroom as a site of power, privilege, and hierarchy. That is, there is a difference between male and female gender, and a type of competition between them. Within the traditional classroom, certain ideas, perspectives, and forms of behavior, discourse, and argumentation are favored, and some are not favored. The approach to teaching in the traditional classroom, whether involving lecture or discussion, takes the significance of a particular text or topic for granted and fails to model the range of alternate interpretive or analytical approaches. It means that some kind of topics or texts or given uh, or given a type of likeness or favoritism, and some are not and taken for granted, and thus fails to model and to be interpretive in mode and to apply them on those particular texts or topics, an analytical approach to discuss them. All of these factors lead some, if not many, students to feel marginalized, discouraging deep learning. Principles of feminist pedagogical practices in order to encourage, motivate, and make them active participant in the classroom activities. Emphasize the psychosocial dimensions of teaching, especially empathy and cultural sensitivity. It means keep in mind the psychological issues, problems, needs, requirement, as well as the social aspects and dimensions during teaching of the class, and he or she should have to be empathetic. It means that he or she must understand the needs, issues, problems, requirements of the students in the class. Place issues centering on class, disability, ethnicity, gender, race at the center of inquiry. All these issues must be kept in mind. Stress the value of experience and encourage disagreements and celebrate differences. Experience should be valued, and disagreements and differences should be encouraged and celebrated during the classroom teaching. Treat students as participants, not the spectators. It means that participatory or inclusive or interactive activities and methodologies of the teaching should be adopted in the classroom. And an example is about to emphasize praxis, that is, to actively inquire and investigate in order to seek to develop a critical awareness of problems, power, and inequalities. Creating an inclusive classroom environment. What can you do to ensure that no students are left behind? The first step is, what can you do to ensure that no students are left behind? Be sensitive to gender dynamics. Be aware of subtle and unconscious interpersonal dynamics. Don't let female students be interrupted, and observe whether a small group of students monopolize discussion. Actually, inclusive classroom is that creating such an environment in the classroom that all types of differences which are present in any classroom, whether those are based on being a normal student or being a special or disabled students, or being differences on the basis of race, ethnicity, nationality, or being differences on the basis of gender issues. A teacher must create an environment to include all those differences on the basis of equality and according to the requirement of each type of the students. So it means he must keep in mind all the differences, differentiating points, and to creating an opportunity to give the opportunity for every students to take part in classroom activities and take part in the discussions. Encourage all students to speak. Pause for a few seconds to give everyone an opportunity to raise hands. Sequence students so that neither of them dominate the discussion. Don't assume that you are protecting shy students. Further is provide feedback and encouragement. Use student name frequently, maintain eye contact, provide positive feedback and encouraging comments to all of your students. Validate their opinion and affirm their ability to succeed. These are all common points you can understand. Be attentive to differences in communication styles. Further is build metacognition into your teaching. It means creating a critical reflection about content and the pedagogy, the material being taught, and the teaching methodologies being adopted. Encourage critical reflection about reading, assignments given to the students, and evaluation methods to check those assignments or tests or their progress of the students. Rethink your classroom. Rethink means to work in the classroom or to conduct the teaching process in the classroom in innovative and new fashion and new manner. And that becomes possible only by varying the classroom format. It means the alteration of the seating plans of the students, both on the basis of gender and on the basis of exchanging their seat related to their roll numbers. Include small group activities, integrate collaborative problem solving as well as competitive argument and debate, rotate leadership in the classroom. To conclude, the differences have to do with how these differences are created, and why these gender issues are created in the classroom. It is because they mostly depend on the physical behaviors of the students, either male or female, styles of their social interaction, how they try to interact with each other and with opposite genders. Academic motivations, what are the motivations behind their learning and getting education, and their common behaviors and their choices in life. They have a variety of sources, and all these factors came from the sources, which belongs to first of all their parents, and then their peers, and at the larger scale from the media. Teachers are certainly not the primary cause of gender role differences, but sometimes teachers influence them by their responses to and choice made on behalf of the students. The teachers have nothing to do with these gender issues that comes in the classrooms, or that belongs to the genders, but in some way or the other, teachers can influence these behaviors which are already present to some extent.